So today we are going to be looking at inventory management. Inventory area can actually be found when you hover over the application launcher, the hand, and you're going to go down until you find the green inventory box. So we're going to go through what this section is, how we can find it to be useful, what all the different options at the top are, and most of all, just like how this will help your life be a lot easier when it comes to products. The first place I'm going to actually start today is in the maintenance area, and then I clicked on charges. So just right out of the gate, I just have to point out that you first start by adding new products into the charges area. You do it just like any other service or item. You're going to click add charge. You may have a specific code for that item. Maybe it's a vitamin, and that's its code, and we're going to say it's vitamin D. We're going to give it an amount. We're always going to mark these as patient type charges because, again, we do not want them to be billed to insurance. So if we leave it as service, people try to bill it out. So be sure to update that as patient. Let's pull up another one to see. Okay, so I can search here and see that I already have, say, like Beta Food. This is a standard process product, and it's in, this is the amount the patient will be charged. So always remember to put in the amount here as what we're charging the patient, not your cost. So I'm going to close out of maintenance because I do not need that, into inventory. So as you can see, I have all of our products listed here, things that we sell or have sold. We don't necessarily keep every single item on this list in inventory. I'm going to talk about that here in a moment, but I just want you to kind of see get a lay of the land and see what we're looking at. So let's say there is an item that I had just went in and put in charges for. Maybe it's something new that we're going to carry in the office. Bring it over into this inventory area. We also click on new item. You're going to click the little plus sign. You can either look at all of them or you can just look at patient charges because, again, we know we marked it as a patient charge only, and it will at least kind of filter out other charges that aren't really things you're going to inventory, like adjustment codes. See, let's go into patient charge. Right there's a soft hot cold pack. I don't think we actually carry this particular one, which is why it's not in inventory. But if I were to add it, I would select that. I would hit OK. You can see that the price to the patient is $15.99. So maybe our charge is $7.50, or maybe it's $8. I don't know. We're going to choose a category. Maybe, so this is a hot cold pack. I'd probably stick it in the ice packs category. And more than likely, if it's our office, we probably got that from Script Pesco. I'm going to go ahead and mark, because I'm adding it for the first time, what quantity on hand. So maybe I ordered it and they've come in and I had 3. And then this option allows you to enable whether or not you're going to reorder it. So let's say I always want to keep 3 on hand. Having it checked enables that. And we're going to say we're going to reorder to 3 when it gets down to 1. Reorder at is at what inventory level do we want to trigger a reorder? And then what do we want to order it up to? If you wanted to keep 10 on hand, but you wanted to trigger it when you got down to 4, the reorder at level is I never ever want to run out. I want to always have at least 4 on hand, but when I get the opportunity to order again, I want to order up to 10. So it gives you that cushion. And these two numbers you really have to play with. You have to know your inventory and you have to know what you're selling. There may be items that you just want to keep 1 on hand and you just want to reorder it when it gets sold because it's maybe something that you don't reorder often. So again, that would be a reorder when it gets to 0 back up to 1. So there's a lot of products that you can put in that just to keep 1 on hand. I'm not going to click OK because I don't want to add this, but you would normally just click OK and it would add it to your list. You can see we've got nutritional supplements. That's a foam roller, so I have it in the miscellaneous category. I've got heel lifts, biofreeze, essential oils, so lots of different things. You can see we have the vendor list here. You can select these options and sort. So like maybe I want to search for a specific code. I could sort it. I can always use these search boxes and say, okay, I'm looking for this particular product and I know what the number is. Or maybe I don't know what the number is, but I know I'm looking for purification kit from Standard Process, for example. So I can search by pretty much anything. I can even search by the word kit and it'll give me the same thing. So it doesn't have to be necessarily at the beginning of the name. You can search by price, again, category, vendor name. There are drop-down options as well. It gives you all the options that would be. So maybe I just want to look and say, okay, who do we get from Hobson? Okay, we got the Vitalio Edison system from Hobson. There's our Young Living. So you could do that. Cost, again, this is your cost. What do you pay for it? Not what the patient pays for it. What your quantity on hand is. So how many do you have right now on your shelf? And then you can see I do have a couple of items. Like I don't have the Vitalio listed as a reorder item because we are actually working on our inventory right now and trying to determine, how many do we really want to keep on hand, because we're going to try to drop ship most of that product to begin with. I have it here waiting and ready to go, but I don't have it set up yet for reorder. And the other thing is I need to actually go in and create a men's and a women's so I can keep them separate. And again, that's just not something I've done yet. So it's kind of nice. You can kind of see where we are in that process. We actually keep up with our electrode pads for our e-stim. We currently have 20 on hand. When that drops down to 10, then what it will do is trigger us to reorder back up to 40. So if I only had 10 today, it would say, hey, you need to order 30 more to get back up to 40. We keep up with these because our cost for those are $2.24. And I think we actually charge a patient like $3, which is enough to cover the cost of the electrode plus a little bit for shipping. So don't feel like you can't charge these to your patients. That's just my opinion. We have small ice packs. We actually don't charge the patient for these. So you can see we have a cost of $1.79, but if you look over in the patient price column, we don't charge for these. We mostly use them in the office, but we do give them away sometimes, again, just as you can make it a wow gift, like, hey, thank you so much, you're such a great patient, we wanted to give you something. So we have those, and they have our name on them, so they're just cute. And that's just kind of a promo item for us. But I do keep up with it in inventory because I don't want to run out. So you can see currently I have 14. When 14 drops down to 5, that's the amount that I might give away between the time I order and the time I receive my order. So again, think about this reorder as your overflow. What do you need to keep on hand between the time that you order more and actually receive that order? So we keep 5, and then we try to keep 30 on hand at a time. Some things to think about when you are setting up your inventory. As you can see on my essential oils, that one I have 2, but I have one of several. I've got it set up to just says, hey, when you run out, order a new one, because it's not something we just sell a ton of. Keep them on hand in case somebody needs something. I have more lavender than anything because that usually sells more than anything. I don't sell enough to worry about keeping one on hand until I got the other one in. I think we just actually got a couple extra in a promo order. So, which is why I have 3 versus my typical 1. So that's our setup. That's kind of how my thought process goes when I'm thinking about inventory and items and what do I want to keep up with. If there's something you don't keep on hand and you don't want to keep it on hand, here's a standard process product. I don't have any, and I don't have any set to reorder. I don't necessarily need this in my inventory list. For example, I'm going to go back to Young Living just because that was the example I had prepared for today. Is yes, we do keep some of the product on hand, but we don't keep our starter kit on hand because that's something the patient would order. So there's no reason for me to inventory the starter kit. Some of these items, like you can see here, I don't keep them. I don't expect to order them unless the patient specifically needs that product. Theoretically, I don't necessarily need to have it in my list. We're kind of working through our inventory right now to go, okay, what is it that we really sell a lot of? And we've been putting more focus into nutrition, so we didn't go wild, take out a ton of product to start with because there was no reason in cleaning it out and then having to add it back. And just for fun, I'll just show you, if you delete something here, it's going to say, are you sure? If I were to click yes, it's not deleting it completely from my charges list. It's taking it out of your inventory tracker, which is what this is. If I'm only going to order Bronch Effect when a patient asks for it or a doctor specifically says, hey, can you get some for them? But I'm not planning to keep any on hand, then technically I don't need it in this list. So that's one way you can keep your list from looking massive like mine, to keep that cleaned out. Okay, a couple of things across the top that I want to point out to you. So you've got your inventory categories button. So these are just different categories that you can put things in. I've got testing that could be a category, because I do keep our well-aligned testing on hand. So that might be something with inventory for you to know, oh, wait, I'm about to run out. You don't want to be caught off guard one day. The doctor says, hey, can you do a vitamin D test? And you go to look for it and you don't have one. I would highly recommend inventorying those. We sell pillows. We sell nutritional supplements, obviously. We have some miscellaneous items. We tried inventorying kinesio tape once because doctor does extremity work and things like that with athletes. And he just found it easier to just keep up with it himself because we don't really charge him to do taping because generally it's something really, really simple. He'll charge for that if it becomes extensive. 99% of the time, it's a wrist or something real quick. He said, we don't need to inventory this. So the categories here, I probably don't even need it just as an option. ice packs, heel lifts, e-stim, essential oils, and biofreeze. You don't necessarily have to have all these inventory categories. Can come in handy when you're just trying to say, okay, what do I got going on with biofreeze? Then we have our little section here that this is our inventory item list. So this is where we already are. So this tab and this button match. I can edit an item, say I want to change that reorder option. Like maybe we started selling this and hey, we just decided we're going to keep one on hand. So maybe I want it to order one or to remind me to order one when I get to 0, so I could update that. You don't have to click edit to get that option. You can just double click on the item. You have to save this each time. So like if I were to change this to 0 and then uncheck it, it actually doesn't update that reorder to number. So that gets a little tricky. So you have to change this to 0. You have to hit OK and save it. And then you have to come in and unenable it. So just know that there's a little bit of a wonkiness to that. But so moving down the line, we already looked at new items. So again, this is how you would add it. If it's something new in your office, to delete, how you would take it out, and then adjust. So this is something we use often, like as we receive products. Let's say I ordered foam rollers. Like I have one, let's say I got one more in. So I would click adjust and it would let me know, hey, your current quantity is 1. I'm going to say, hey, I received a new one and I'm going to change that to receiving. I can put a comment in. I don't normally do that. It just doesn't seem as necessary for me to have that in there, but you could comment like an invoice number or anything if you'd like to do that. Let's say I have printed out my inventory and I'm doing like an inventory check. Like I'm going through and I'm literally looking at how many products do I truly have on the shelf? You know, is everything lining up? And let's say I thought I had one, but it's nowhere to be found. Maybe one of the staff members took it home to use it and forgot to bring it back in. Or let's say the doctor gave it to a patient who really needed it and he just forgot to take it out of inventory. Or maybe we sold it and took the money and everything, but just forgot to charge it. But it's not there. For whatever reason, it's not there. So in that case, I would do a -1 to actually bring, like where I thought I had one on hand, but I really don't. So you do a negative on the change quantity to bring it down to a 0 quantity on hand. And then that's where I would use the adjusting option because I'm adjusting the inventory. I didn't really receive it. Obviously, if it sells, it will adjust itself, but this is, again, for correcting inventory. Generally, I'm thankful that I don't feel like product grows legs and walks off. But at times, you know, we have product that we're like, wow, you know, this says I have 3 on hand, but there's only 2 bottles sitting here of this. I know that there are people out there with sticky fingers and sadly will steal from you. So keep those inventory products in an area where you can keep an eye on that. That's just good practice. Or keep them in a locked cabinet, whatever you need to do if this is a problem for you. If you're seeing that, you know, hey, every time I go to count this particular product, it's off by 1 or 2 or something. In our old office before we moved, our product was not where I could just see it, and we actually had to just put it in a locked cabinet because sadly it would come up missing. So now it's in an area with our new office where we can see it directly from the front desk, and I don't have that problem. Okay, so that's the adjust inventory. Go down these few reports here. Activity detail, you can actually set this up. It's just like pulling a report. So you can say, okay, from say the 1st of September to today, what activity in regards to inventory has happened? So it'll let you know anything that you've received. It'll let you know anything you sold. So see, I just removed this Cryoderm myofascial warming ointment. I took that out of inventory because we had a specific patient that always wanted it, and they're not a patient anymore, and nobody else wants it or needs it. So I took it out. I deleted it. So you can see that gets tracked. You can see that the staff in our office, she actually sold some biofreeze to my mother-in-law this morning. So you can see that today's date, Lindsay sold, it says charge posted on 9/10, and then the quantity went down by 1. So this tells me that she bought it. So you can look at, you know, the activity. We were actually looking at one the other day because when Miss Michael did her inventory, there was an item that said we had 3 of them and we couldn't find any of them. So we actually used the activity report to go back and go, okay, did we adjust it? What happened? And so again, you can change these date ranges, check things like that and go, okay, well, where did it go? Who got that? You know, who bought that Simplex F? And what patient was that? Maybe we want to, you know, make sure that when it's time for the product to run out, do they need more? So this has helped us a lot to make sure we keep up with patients I only run this generally when I'm just trying to solve a problem and try to figure out, again, where did something go. We keep up with how we remind ourselves when that product should run out. We keep that actually in the ledger. If anybody has questions about that, I can show it to you. But today I just want to focus on the management side. Again, this activity detail report is helpful because, again, you can see just in the last 10 days, I had 4 different pages of things that, we sold to patients. I think I saw one where it was received. Okay, so see, we ordered Neuroplex. You can see that it was received on the 1st of September. And we received in one of those. Whether you're receiving it in, deleting it out, selling it. Let's say you sold it to a patient and then they decided they didn't want that and they brought it back to you. Here's one that we just had this happen. We bought this liquid magnesium. The patient got here and she said, oh, wow. She said, I don't do liquids. Now, I don't know why she doesn't do liquids, but nevertheless, she didn't want a liquid form of magnesium. She wanted a pill. So we had sold it to her. And then on the same day, she said, no, I don't want that. So we actually charged it and then deleted the charge. So you can see how the inventory went down, but then it went back up because we put it back into inventory by taking the charge out of her ledger. So the ledger, as you're posting inventory or posting items that you're selling there, it will adjust the inventory manually or automatically, excuse me. So that's super helpful.
Hey friends, sorry to interrupt. I do hope that you are enjoying this content, but I had to quickly ask, can you hit that subscribe button? And also don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. You can also check out my website, which is confidentchiro.com, where you will learn more about Medicare, ChiroTouch, and more. Now back to the video.
So the reorder summary, this is probably what we do. You gotta have this button or this tab active for some of these things to work. So the reorder summary, I can run this and I can basically let it look through all of these reordering lists and tell me, and it'll sort it by vendor. So from Script Hesco, it says, hey, you have this hot cold pack, you have 2 on hand, and when you drop down to 2, this is the reminder to order 2 more because we like to keep 4 on hand. A mid-core pillow, that's just a specific size pillow. We only have 1. We like to keep 2. So now that we've dropped down to 1, it's letting me know I need to order. So when I click this reorder summary, it lets me know all this information. So I can go to the next page. So here's our standard process list of what we need to order based on what we like to keep on hand for these products. If you do well aligned, you may have a vendor, you might have your Vitalio vendor, and again, the same thing. Or even testing could be on there. And then we have some Young Living products that we need to update. Like here's this one. It says Citrus Fresh is actually a negative on hand. So for me, that's a red flag. It's very, very rare that I would sell a product that I don't have. And I cannot think of a patient that has bought Citrus Fresh. I usually manage all the Young Living stuff. So I don't know why it says we don't have one, or actually it says we have -1. But really you should never have a negative inventory. On the rare occasion that, let's say, a patient comes in and they want something and you don't have it, but you want to go ahead and let them pay for it, then there's been times where I'll charge it to them, let them pay for it, and it will give me a negative on hand. But again, I'm aware, I know that I just ordered this, and when it comes in, I'll receive it into inventory and then give it to the patient, and it will balance out that negative. But this would be something I'd be like, what's going on? I probably need to go check it out. So when you're looking at these reports, that's helpful to kind of go, where's the little red flags that I need to check on? You have cost of sale, inventory status, and inventory level. These 2 I'm going to talk about together. So let's run through cost of sale. So again, I could just look at today's report as an example. I know some of you keep up with your cost of goods sold. So this is letting you know, hey, like from Script Hesco, you sold a BioFreeze. You sold it for $12, but your cost was $8.25. There was a heel lift. What we sell it for is $6, but our cost on it is $2.09. The only thing I really wish this report would do is total this, because if you're looking at, say, like a whole month and you just want to compare your cost of goods sold, usually what I have to do is export this to Excel and then total up the cost column. So just keep that in mind. The other thing you need to keep in mind is, let's say if a patient bought 2 of them, it's only going to show you individual costs. It doesn't show you what the total cost for both quantities are. So again, if you're going to export it to Excel and try to just tally at the column, remember to do a quick run through and check for any quantities that, again, so if this said 2, the cost would still say $18.25, but the price would be double what the normal price is. So it'll show up here, but it won't show up here. So this report's a little aggravating for me. I don't use it. I'm going to show you in a moment what report I pull to keep up with my cost of goods sold that I think is easier, but here's an option. And then lastly, you've got inventory status and inventory level. I actually went ahead and just pulled this for Young Living because I just want to show you Here's the inventory level report, and here's the inventory status report. For me, they look exactly the same. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of having both of them. Maybe there's other inventory, purposes out there that would find this really, really helpful. The only thing I'm seeing is that the inventory status lets us know when did we last order it and how much did we order it. Like, did we order 5 of them last time? I guess if you're trying to problem solve, this could come in handy. Again, I don't use these reports for anything because I just don't keep up with it like that. But I want to show them to you because you might go, oh, snap, that's the thing that's going to help me keep up with what I'm doing. So again, I just want to show you those two. So I'm going to close those, get us back into our inventory list. And then finally you have this vendor section, but you see I can't click on add vendor or edit the vendor. What I actually have to do is click on the vendor list button. And then once I'm in that tab, then those other vendor options become available. So this allows me to just manage my vendors, manage, address, phone number. You have to have a vendor list. You at least have to have one vendor on your list to be able to add items into inventory because it requires you to have a vendor set up because when we look at that reorder summary, we know it sorts it by vendor. And again, that's to your benefit because if you're like, hey, I got a few minutes and I'm going to make sure I get something ordered, I don't want to sort through and go, oh, well, this is a Young Living item, or that's a Script Pesco, or this is a well-aligned item. I want to be able to just go to that one website, order all my standard process, and then move on to the next vendor. There's huge purpose in this. You see, I don't necessarily have every piece of information. Probably could just put in the name and not worry too much about the rest. So there's probably certain things. It looks like it doesn't require a fax because I don't have a fax in for everybody. I don't have an email or a website in for everybody, but it does look like maybe it requires the address and probably the phone number. So again, not a big deal. Just pull it from their website and throw that in there. Again, you can click on any of them and hit edit, or you can double click on it and it takes you to the same place where you can edit the information. You can delete them from here. Okay, it says the vendor cannot be deleted because one or more inventory items are associated. So that's cool. It kind of helps you not make a boo-boo. Even if I had 30 vendors on here, I'm probably never going to delete them because you never know when you might have one item for that particular vendor that you want it. Again, you want it to do the work. You want it to let you know, hey, from this vendor, here's the items that you need. So again, it sets it up to make you guys, help you focus on actually getting the product reordered and not have to worry about where to go and where to find it and all that. Let's see. That is the main inventory management side. There are purchase order options. So let's say your office creates POs for different things you order. You can actually put them in here. Like you can create a new PO and actually add items to this list that you want to tell it that you're ordering. So there's options to do this. I don't normally create POs because it's like double work. I don't want to have to come in here and add each item in quantities, what I'm expecting to get. For me, I usually have an email confirmation. Usually we just print it. Try not to use a lot of paper, but at the same time, that's just one of the things that for us, it just makes more sense. We'll print it. We keep it in a specific place and anybody can go and look in that folder and go, okay, here's all the things we've ordered and what we're waiting on. Because the thing is for us, if I go and I order a standard process, but then Dr. Landers, hey, I need this particular product. I see that we don't have it on the shelf. Let's see if it's been ordered. So instead of him going around the office and say, does anybody know if such and such was ordered? He can look in the file and just see that it was. So that's why we do it that way. It doesn't have to be everybody's process. You can see here, like we had done one once and I was thinking, I had to add each one of these individually, what I ordered, and I thought this is not worth it to me. So that's just my personal opinion. You can play around with the PO options if that is something you really need. I just don't think most of our offices are doing enough in inventory that this is necessary. You have to receive the PO. You have to say, here's everything we got. Like what if there was something on the order that you didn't get? Maybe it was back ordered. So you could utilize this to say, well, here's what we got. Here's what we're waiting on. Again, I just mark it on my printed out sheet, waiting on XYZ was on back order. Again, you have this options where you can do an automatic PO number, manually set it. You can let it know, hey, where do you want to start the next time? And then locked POs, I think those are basically like completed. I think this is probably more from like an auditing standpoint, like if somebody needed to go in and see, what has been done, you have some history. Sorry to put it to you, but I just don't find any of this valuable enough for me to take the time to put them in. So that's just Maria's opinion. But I want your offices to be efficient. So for me, it's easier just to add it when it comes in, sell it as it goes out. And then the only other thing I want to show you from a reporting side, and most of you should know where reports are. Under the application launcher, it's this button that looks like a chart going up. We actually will go in and use the procedure code usage report. And I don't know if you noticed on my inventory screen, a lot of our supplements are listed with a Z. It's not because that's the code. We set it up that way so that when I go over into my procedure code usage report, I can just click on Z. So usually what I'll do is I'll scroll up. I will pick up all of my young living. So if I hold down my control button, I can select all of those. Actually, I'll probably just start right there. Scroll down to the end, hold down my shift button, and select the last one, and now I've got the whole grouping. So at the end of a month, if I want to look and see what my cost of goods sold was, it will give me totals. To me, that's more helpful than the other report that we saw over in inventory, because again, it doesn't total it based on quantities. So now, this is just for today. You can see that I sold a cod liver, a Thymex, and a turmeric forte. Again, I just pulled standard process. I didn't pull anything else. I just pulled standard process just because I'm just trying to show it to you. But again, see, I've got units and I've got a total. So this is how much the patient paid. 99% of the time, our cost of goods sold is half of that. So it just helps me get that number. This is just the way I do it. I know I sometimes do things a little differently than others, but I find that I would love to just be able to pull a report, grab the number and go. And that's why I've done all the work on the front end to set it up this way. That's pretty much how we do inventory. Let me just go ahead and pop over here to like a tester patient and just show you. Like if I had a patient today that bought vitamin D and I wanted to, maybe this vitamin D is good for 30 days. So I want to remind myself that in 30 days from now that this person is due for another vitamin D product. What I do is I go in here and I click new, other transaction, and I'll put due for vitamin D, and then I'll go out to next month. So I'll put, okay, as of October the 10th. Again, you can see that's a Saturday. I don't get too worked up about this because as we are checking patients out, we will glance at the ledger and we'll see, like maybe our last work day of that week is actually Thursday. Well, I'll know, okay, well, today's the 8th and it's due by the 10th. Like at that time, I don't worry about it being the exact date. You could totally put these on dates that you know you're going to be in the office. So if you work Monday through Thursday, maybe instead of marking it as the 10th, again, you could mark it as the 8th. If you work Monday through Friday, mark it as the 9th. That's totally up to you and your process and just how your mind works in regards to this. Again, we just kind of go out a month and don't worry about it, but you could set it up on that date. And then I hit post. So now it's just a $0, like there's no charge there, but it just lets me know that by October the 8th or the 10th or whatever date you want to assign that to, this patient is due for vitamin D. Any charges that are posted between now and that date will go above this one. So like, let's say I'm going to put, this is a pretend adjustment charge. We're just going to call it pretend. And it happens today. See, it put it above this one because this is always going to put any charges in chronological order with the most recent thing on bottom. This will always stay on bottom until October the 8th rolls around, and any services after October the 8th will get posted below it. Again, I've said this before in other webinars, especially when you're looking at patient management and money and stuff. We look at their ledger every time. 2 seconds for us to click on ledger and go, yep, they're good to go, or, oh, I need a payment, or anything like that. We use this area for so much. Again, if you have things that you can't manage elsewhere, I highly recommend the ledger. If you're looking at it each time a patient checks out, I'll give you one great reason why you should, just to kind of make a case for it. I remember there being times where a patient would pay in full and we had it noted on a travel card. Throughout the whole year, maybe that patient had a few drop-ins because they had, a flare-up or something. Well, by the time the end of the year came, that patient had not only used up all their pay in full money, but they actually owed us money. And that really bothered me. It feels more congruent to us as an office and how we want to treat people to not allow that to happen. So even on pay in fulls, I've showed this before, we'll put 10%. That means bookkeeping discount. We'll put the projected care plan end date in as an other transaction. So like if they signed care, let's say they accepted care today and they paid in full for the year, what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll future date this note for a year from now, post it. And just like I was saying before, this always stays on the bottom of any other charges that the patient might receive. And when I go and I click into the ledger and I see that they're a 10% bookkeeping discount, and over here I would see, like a credit. Like maybe they paid, $1,000 or $3,000 today or whatever. I'm going to watch that credit. Let's say we're in August of 2021 and the patient's like running out of money. Maybe they had several drop-ins. Maybe they had a huge flare-up that, or a new something that, we had to take an x-ray. Usually if it gets really out of hand and the patient has a lot going on, like if they had an auto accident, we're probably going to scrap this plan and just have the doctor write a new care plan anyways, take the credit that they have at that time and apply it. And there are times where maybe it's more subtle, like the patient might have a drop-in once this month, and a couple months go by and they drop in again, and then a couple months go by and they drop in again, and nobody really recognizes that, hey, wait, this patient has actually had multiple drop-ins that could affect what they've already paid. So with that said, that's my case for important is to keep an eye on it, because I would much rather let the patient know, hey, you had some drop-ins last year, when you were going through that issue with your shoulder or whatever, and, you had paid in full for the year, but you've actually already used up all the funds. So instead of waiting until September of 2021 to redo that care plan, we're going to go ahead and redo it a couple months early, because I'd hate for you to wait till then and then owe us a bunch of money. And I can't tell you how appreciative patients are to that fact that they know we're keeping an eye on it. That's my case, or one thing that I think is a really good important thing to keep in mind about why it's important to look at the ledger every time, because you're likely to overlook things. And again, from an inventory standpoint, I'm already in the habit of checking their ledger each time, so it's pretty rare that we'll forget to charge somebody for something they're receiving, because I would have to come in here and do a new charge and post it for them. So that's just again kind of our process and how we do it. I hope this has been helpful from an inventory standpoint. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.